Who is the most evil person you've ever met? My high school rugby coach's wife was murdered. She was shot as she waited for the bus. Everyone made a show of supporting him as he seemed to be really devastated. He left his volunteer position as our coach a few months later. Turns out he paid someone to kill her so he could get out of his marriage. There was a huge undercover operation to catch him. You can read about the story here. Did no one tell him you can just get a divorce? Her family was rich and he worked for their company. There was a sadly similar case near where I grew up. A Muslim family was out for a post-iftar stroll during Ramadan when a van pulled up and someone opened fire, killing the wife and wounding the husband. The baby in his stroller was covered in blood but physically unharmed. Obviously, everyone assumed this might be a hate crime and there was an outpouring of support from the entire community. The ER where the couple was taken was so full of well-wishers and prayer vigils that they actually had to have security move some people outside to clear the hallways for emergency crews to get through. Days later they found the husband's side chick, still in possession of the murder weapon. She'd helped the scumbag fake a hate crime to get out of his marriage / the lies he told his wife about being in a non-existent PhD program. So evil. My school friend's stepdad. He was violent even when friends visited her. One time he threatened us all, my friend, her sisters and her mom, with a huge knife. Luckily we were able to leave the apartment unharmed. When she was 14 it came out that he had SA'd her for 2 years. That man is a fucking monster and I hope he'll burn in hell. He's out of jail already thanks to my country's shitty justice system. Call me morbid, but I think SA convicts should be neutered. Physical or chemical castration is a requirement in several states in order to be released after the sentence. There are also voluntary programs some prisoners do to help recovery. Now how often this is enforced? I'm not sure, but it's still a thing that happens currently. My grandfather, Kerry Hook, legit uncaught serial killer. He died of MS 6 years ago, at like 66 only, but my mom witnessed him on 2 of the killings, reported him to the police, but because of his connections with the police department in the 80s they wouldn't pursue it, so he raped her and got her pregnant as punishment. She had to run away and get an abortion. Then he tried hunting her down for many years. He was not shy to admit these things, and when he died he actually wrote the locations of a few bodies in Wisconsin and Michigan, and they in fact found them. The scariest thing is, no one took my poor mom seriously all these years until after the Saab died. Guy was very evil man and sadly never got caught while he was alive. Edit, if anyone is curious how he remained uncaught, it was cause in his early 20s he was a drug mule for the mob for a while and learned from a connection in there how they were able to hide bodies so well and basically just stole their methods. Edit, Kerry Hook, not Kerry. I can't find anything about this guy online. Do you have an article or something? Article? It's Wisconsin. My mom made a book about it called, I Am Tracy. The bodies were found around Lake Michigan. That's all I know, not really sure it was on the news considering these were bodies dismembered and buried back in like 1984, 19866. Either way, talking to my mom, his spelling is wrong. Kerry, not Kerry. Also, 2 women, and a guy. I guess the guy was a loan shark he got rid of to escape debts. Also, most of the other people he killed were during home invasions and robberies. Former stepdad. Mom filed for divorce and had the papers served as she got on a plane to England, from America, so my stepdad couldn't find her. My stepdad's brother called my mom after a hunting trip and begged her to leave him as he spent the entire trip discussing how he was going to kill my mom and hide the body. Unfortunately my former stepdad's brother died before he could file a police report. How did he die though? Massive heart attack. Dude saved my mom's life, I'm certain. I'm sorry that happened to you. Thank you. It is complicated by the fact I always searched for a father figure and he was around the longest and the most consistent with me. Hell, he left me in his fucking will after they got divorced. I'll never understand why he was nice to me. He beat the shit out of my stepbrothers when they were younger, he even choked his first wife when she had fucking throat cancer. My heart and mind is a jumbled fucking mess. The man was a monster, but he was a man. You know what I mean? My first ex-husband. It wasn't just a matter of he cheated, though he did that, too. He was abusive to me, and tried to kill my son. Can't think of him as our son. He went to prison, and when he was out, he continued the same pattern of behavior with other women and children. He went to prison again. Not sure what he's doing now, but I can guess. We had this chemistry teacher in his 30s who was super popular among the students, Fun and relaxed while still being a good teacher. He was married to another science teacher. We took chemistry junior year and I remember being pumped to have him as my teacher when I received my schedule a couple weeks before the start of the year, as we always do. Well, here comes the first day of school and he's not there. They quietly replaced him and then his wife changed her last name. There were credible rumors that he was having inappropriate relationships with a couple 15-16-year-old students. It was never confirmed by the district but also not hard to figure out. It was a really affluent town with a highly regarded public school system, which is what attracted wealth residents, so calling attention to it wasn't really in their best interest. Guy I met jail. He was 19. His ex-girl started dating someone he knew from school. He didn't like that. He managed to bring this guy to Western Virginia, hours away, deep in the woods. Shotgun blasted in the chest, then chopped off limbs and buried the guy. He was a POS, we almost had to fight. He wanted my bunk, I told him to piss off. The deputies got involved before anything happened and they moved him to a different block. If you don't mind my asking, what were you in jail for? DUI and possession of illicit drugs. I've been sober for almost a year now. Thank God. Edit, thank you everyone for your love and support. I know it wasn't much really, but it really has lifted my spirit. Smile. I grew up in El Paso, was dating a girl who worked with Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. Went to pick her up one evening after her car broke down at the warehouse where they worked. He was standing in the parking lot just glaring at her like I didn't even see what he was doing. I stared back but he never took his eyes off of her. In retrospect, I guess that would have to be him. And then oddly enough, I bought a lot of cars for scrap. One of them was a white station wagon and the federal marshals came out and told me I couldn't sell it or scrap it until I got an okay from them. Because it belonged to Richard Ramirez and the case against him was still ongoing. Yeah, that's another can of worms while they sold it, but shit happens. My aunt's ex-husband. He SA'd her daughter from the time she was 6 until she got her first period because then she was too old for him. My husband, who she looks to like a big brother, helped her put together the police statement and helped her prepare for court. He's a stereotypical emotionally repressed bloke who has seen some shit in his life, and every time he helped her out, he would not only cry like a baby but had nightmares for a week. I don't know the details, so don't ask, and I don't want to know. Did that psycho get arrested? He got arrested. He was found guilty. He did no time, got a very simple community corrections order, breached it repeatedly and is living free. What the hell? I hope the kid and woman are okay at least. They're actually doing pretty well these days. Cousin is an adult with a kid of her own, and is still working through a lot of guilt. Regular therapy for both. Cousin and husband are still as close ever. A South African ex-police officer. He boasted about killing suspects by dropping them out of helicopters over the sea or shooting them point blank when they were caught instead of arresting them. And you didn't meet them? What do you mean? I worked in the same office as them when they moved to England and worked in IT. As a South African, this doesn't surprise me. I've been told to my face by the police to kill home intruders and dump them instead of trying to call the cops. Ronnie Lee Gardner, he killed a bartender in a robbery gone wrong, then had his girlfriend sneak a gun into a courthouse and shot and killed an attorney. I was a court security officer during one of his death penalty appeals. I didn't technically meet him, but was in court with him. That man just radiated evil. I was on a jury and one of the witnesses made my heart stop. He was so evil. The atmosphere in the room changed when he was led into the courtroom. I've had parent-teacher conferences with gang members, a guy who stabbed someone with a butter knife, meth heads, but this man was the devil. After the trial I found out he was in jail for murder. He was in his early 20s. Is he dead? I hope so. Firing squad dead. My former friend's mom. She drinks all day, spends her husband's money, and is a selfish narcissist. She injured her leg years ago working at a troubled youth clinic. A bad kid attacked her for no reason, but the more I grew to know her and saw how cruel she was, I believe she said something very hurtful and is also milking government money with her injury. My friend's boyfriend suffered a freak accident and almost died. While he was in the hospital, they got a dog to help him with his recovery. Fast forward to them breaking up, he kept the dog and she traveled the country for a few months. They were still friendly. He asked her to watch his dog while family, with an aggressive dog, came to visit. She agreed, then the mom refused to give the dog back. She was now living with the mom post-breakup. It wasn't in his name, so he had no merit to get the dog back, besides massive court fees. She took a stroke survivor's support dog from him. Lol. I felt so bad for him. He talked with attorneys and they said they can get the dog back for sure, but it would be pricey and she will be vengeful. He ended up having to get another dog. Edit. The dog was registered under the girlfriend's name, as he was bedridden for a few months. Former coworker. She simply could not see how her actions negatively affected others, and did things only to serve herself. Some highlights: she was getting new furniture, so she had her 3 cats put down so they didn't ruin it. She abandoned her husband, kids and job on a whim, and drove with a friend to live and work about 20 hours away. After 6 months came back and didn't understand why she couldn't have her job back, and why her husband wanted to divorce her. Would routinely blame things that went wrong on job sites on people that had nothing to do with it. She would completely make up stories, and I'd gotten in trouble at work a few times because she blamed me for things I didn't do. Building on that one, would spread rumors and even report scandalous things to HR that didn't actually happen. This led to a coworker being fired before she admitted to making it up. Routinely say she's going for a coffee run, and take over an hour. She was once caught shopping at a shop during this time. My brother. He has been assaulting his girlfriends and gaslighting them since he was 15. They come to me when they're fully broken, because he's told them I'm wealthy and a monster and out to get him, so they think I can help. I get to hear about how he grapes them, hurts them, and threatens to sick the Masons on them. My parents covered for him for years, but now they're both dead. He's been accused of it on Twitter. He's TikTok and Twitter famous, and he just turns around and says that he was abused and groomed etc., though I know it's not true. I'm no contact, but he continually tries to contact me. Have you called the police or a victim's helpline on their behalf? Even a brief statement could put a wrench in your brother's ability to get away with SAing women. What proof do I have, besides text messages and emails? I'm literally nobody. Just a 8-to-5er who is dealing with my own traumatic shit. My therapist wants me to stay away from him. I've reached out to some of the women and girls I've seen him working with on TikTok and Twitter to warn them to not drink around him / be alone with him, but I don't want him to send his brigade of fans after me if he finds out. Luckily, he's not with the Masons anymore. They kicked him out, so he doesn't have that influence. He used to throw that around in people's faces. That's something. An email or a text could provide a tip for the police to begin an investigation. I would try. If you do decide to call in or meet with an officer to report what you know, stay as far away from your brother as possible. My dad is a Mason. They have their limits too. I'm glad he lost their patronage and privilege. Take good care of yourself. My whole family are Masons. Even I was a female Mason, even though they were only really around to keep the wives happy. He was an embarrassment in the chapters but thought he was cool. On his Twitter he always took pictures. Working in a prison several years ago, I met a lot of men who might be considered evil to you, but the fact is very few are inherently evil. But one young man was so manipulative and calculating his family stopped being his victim. When I first met him I thought he was a funny if misguided young man with potential for being released and never coming back. I placed him in appropriate rehabilitative programs that he completed with high reviews. But like most people who were fooled by this guy, it was his ability to say what you wanted to hear, and not true change, that he mastered. Originally incarcerated for drug offenses and armed robbery of his younger brother's business, the completion of a certain intensive cognitive behavioral therapy program knocked 2 years from his time to serve. No one in his immediate family would have him stay with them, but in the state where I was working at the time, an offender could not be released without approved residence. It could be a spot on someone's floor, but it had to be approved. This is getting long, so let's fast forward. The man's elderly grandmother called offering a place to stay. It was ideal since she had plenty of room and was close to transportation and employment opportunities for him. We spoke by phone a few times to ensure she was ready. But, within 2 weeks' time he violated parole by using drugs, associating with felons, assault against the same brother he had wronged previously, stealing from his grandmother's home and garage, etc., resulting in county jail and returning to prison. This time he was ineligible for most programs, but of course he blamed me and the system instead of taking responsibility. When his release approached, every member of his family denied him a place to stay and his poor grandmother was heartbroken that she couldn't trust him. She called begging that we didn't give him her new address and phone number. He has since returned to prison in a neighboring state with a long time before he is eligible for release. Please don't get me wrong, I know many people who are released and have done well with the proper help and determination. But when someone acts against those who love him most, again and again, with little if any remorse, evil plays a part. Not as some vile entity, but as a mindset. I've seen this before. They treat loved ones like they're the suckers for trusting them. Like the ones that they take advantage of are falling for the same lies over and over, and it's the family's fault for doing it. Of course, when they no longer let them live with them or support them or give them money anymore, it's not their fault because they were supposed to just take it forever. And in my family, they never apologize or learn their lesson. A kid I knew from gym class in 9th grade ended up killing his mom and stabbing his brothers before fleeing across pasture land I used to deer and turkey hunt on. This was in the late 1990s, and the guy is still locked up in a Texas prison. He told investigators that he murdered his mom because she wouldn't let him see his girlfriend. Here's an article about it. Former boss at a large corporation. I'm pretty sure that he had some bipolar type mental disorder. He treated his employees like shit and was regularly condescending towards anyone he thought was lesser than him. However, he was incredibly productive with his teams and played up to his bosses. He was second or third in line to be made CISO of a company of 400,000 plus people. It scares me that he could have some global influence, literally. Corporate executives are way more likely to be psychopaths than your average person. How rich was he? I'm not sure exactly, but his base was probably a comfortable 6-figure salary with lots of bonuses and stock options. Hands down the mother of one of the girls that bullied me when I was a child. Her daughter treated a lot of kids like hell, and her mother not only didn't do anything about it, but actively encouraged her into keeping the act up and partook in it, either by actively laughing at the kids being mistreated or by scolding them if they tried to defend themselves from her daughter. I almost blame her for my traumas more than her daughter. Is it wrong to feel bad for the daughter? I would say no. Partly I feel bad for her too. She was and is clearly a damaged individual, but I don't feel much pity for her because she was a lot like her mother. She did a bunch of bad shit to a bunch of people, including myself. For example, she once hit on a 20-something-year-old dude who worked as a lifeguard in a place she went on holidays to, and when he rejected her because she was a minor, she started to get really pushy and then ended up throwing a drink at his face in front of a lot of people while he was working. I had a weird situation like this with my ex-best friend's mom, who was also my babysitter for a while. She basically convinced my friend to abandon me in middle school, and the friend straight up ignored me out of nowhere because she decided to become friends with the popular kids. Meanwhile, I thought I had at least some friends when school started and I had no one, and her new friends regularly made fun of me. I think the mom pushed her into trying to become popular because she wasn't as a kid, so she was some kind of 40-year-old mean girl. I was alone and isolated for months until I finally made one friend. This woman then went to my mom and acted pretend concerned that I had made friends with this girl who she claimed was from the wrong side of the tracks and a bad influence or something, and my mom sort of questioned my friendship with this girl and discouraged me from hanging out with her. There was absolutely nothing wrong or suspect about this girl except that her parents were kind of poor and had a small house. This crazy woman basically wanted me to have no friends, and looking back, as a babysitter, it's obvious that she simply didn't like me as a kid and treated me unkindly even then. Blows my mind that someone who goes into childcare would treat a child that way. Later on, she died at about age 50 from cancer. Couldn't find it in my heart to feel even slightly bad about it after the way this grown woman acted. So bizarre. My wife was a criminal defense lawyer for many years. She defended some real evil scumbags. She came across a lot of violent murderers, thugs, rapists, and peons. The one that scared her the most was like the Steve Buscemi character, Garland Green, in Con Air, in that he was totally unassuming and a full-on psychopath from a very young age. He was in prison from age 15, released at 19, murdered a girl, then was sent to Broadmoor Hospital in the UK age 20, then took his life at age 25. Unlike most of these people, he had an apparently normal upbringing and started to go wrong very early in life with deviant behaviors in early teens. My wife's father. This may become a bit of a long story, but I'll start at the beginning. My wife and I met about 10 years ago. A year after we got together, we wound up moving in with her parents to save up some money to buy a house because the local rental market is insane. $1,500 plus a month for a one-bed apartment, but we bought a 2-bedroom house on property for $150K. I think we moved in around the beginning of August and stayed there until the following April. About 3 weeks after we moved in, my wife's mom moved out and said she was getting a divorce from my wife's dad. One night in April, my wife got angry about something small and went on a full-on rampage. Ripped a door off the wall, punched holes in a wall, etc. I had no idea what it was about and was trying to comfort her and calm her down. She finally snaps out of her rage, walks into the living room, and screams at her father, "You're not my fucking dad. Dads don't touch their daughters." Turns out that around Christmas, he raped her. Held her down on the couch and raped her while I was at work. She told me this after I got her to calm down some. Within 30 minutes I had all our shit in my cargo trailer, and we wound up going to my uncle's house for the next few weeks until the deal closed on our house. I know these questions will be asked. Yes, I took my chance right then and there. I beat him almost to death. I left him there to die and he unfortunately did not. The police were involved. He got in no trouble as there was no evidence. I got in no trouble because he refused to press charges. 1986-ish, I was at a concert, a junior in high school. Met a guy near me, we exchanged numbers. He was a little bit older than me and at the time, I thought that was cool. We talked on the phone, he wrote letters. He started to pressure me to get together. He set up a whale watching trip, hours away from where I lived. It was already feeling like too much, too soon, too much pressure. As any good girl, I was raised to be nice, wouldn't want to hurt his feelings or inconvenience him. In the end, my inner voice was telling me to not go, so I backed out. To say that he went ballistic is an understatement. He was the first person to call me a B as well as A, for leading him on. I told him I didn't feel comfortable going so far away. I felt like his date was isolating and that I wasn't ready to do that. He harassed me by phone and by letter for months. I was too scared to tell my parents because so had been warned not to give out my phone number. I was scared he was going to come hurt me. I felt like I dodged a bullet and that if I had gone, something would have happened to me. I am sure that he has hurt people in his lifetime. I threw away all his letters so I don't know his name. Oh my God, that's really scary. I'm so sorry you went through that. And so glad you listened to your gut. Always listen to your gut. Seriously, he was a serial something in the larvae stage. My parents' neighbor. He had a son, Dougie, that was my age, so we used to play together every day. Well, not really play. Dougie always had a ton of chores to do that would take him from the time he got home from school until his dad got home. If anything wasn't done to the dad's satisfaction, he would get beat. His dad would beat him with a garden hose, and one time with the back of a machete. It left the worst bruises I've ever seen. In the summer, chores would last all day. He had fighting cocks, and would take them to underground cockfights weekly. Some of them were really valuable, so he would kill any hawks or owls he saw. He had a wall in his barn that was full of talons. Dougie had a Chesapeake Bay Retriever that a distant relative gave him. Such a sweet dog. His dad made him tie it to a tree out back all day. One night the dog was barking at something and the dad got mad and shot and killed him. Different people in the neighborhood called the police on the dad, but he was some high-level guy in our rural town, and nothing ever happened to him. Last I heard, Dougie was working as a house painter, and everyone called him Druggy for obvious reasons. One of my best friend's father. He's a very hippie type of guy, really into the world peace and one love kind of thing. My friend lost his baby brother at 2 years old due to a very aggressive form of a rare cancer. The death happened in 2015. His father still refuses to work, despite having 4 other kids to take care of and a pregnant wife at home, forcing her to work instead. He used to get drunk and aggressive, never physically, but would start verbally abusing the younger kids. He would say stuff like, "You're the reason." Died. He has multiple kids from multiple different marriages. All age range from 25 to 2 months old. Weirdly enough, he has custody of all of them, and always claims that his ex-wives are the crazy ones. His oldest son is extremely weird. Disclaimer in advance, I am not judging his academic choices, I'm just comparing them so you guys can see how emotionally abusive he is. He received a scholarship that would cover 100% of all university costs, including outside housing. He chose to go to our hometown university, which is barely accredited, and study philosophy. My friend received the same scholarship, got into an Ivy League and was going to go into film studies. His father told him he was the biggest disappointment he'd ever experienced, and asked him why he couldn't be like his older brother. The community loves him, because they don't realize all the dirty secrets about him that my friends and I do. He's slowly losing power though, because of how he extorts his child's death. All of his children, including my friend, have multiple trauma/mental issues that I'm 100% sure is caused by him. Lately though, I've noticed my friend showing little snippets of his dad's personality. He's even dressing like him lately. It really worries me.